Quite often then the children might come into hard times, or one day they're sorting out their house and they're selling stuff, then they're wanting to find out what the items are worth. So it's very, very important at that point in time for you as a seller to establish what it is you have, i.e. is it a piece of silver, a piece of glass, ceramic, furniture, art. Look at the angle, the aspect of what it is you wanting to sell. Then to find the specialist dealer or trader trading in that. Hence we've got the National Antique Dealers Association, which offers you 50 or 60 members in the antique industry in South Africa. So if you visited that website, for instance, you would come up with a huge amount of people's specialities, i.e. if you were wanting to sell stamps, coins, gold, jewelry, whatever, you would be able to find an appropriate member of the association there to contact to be able to find out a value. Obviously values are always quite a tender thing for a member of the public to deal with, because they're dealing with the value of the heartstrings and we're dealing with actual value. And you cannot actually attach value to somebody's worth, something that they've attached to it because they've owned it their whole lives. Essentially a thing has a value out there in the marketplace. Some items are better put onto an auction to determine a value. You might get items from way back when that are really, really ancient, and you're wanting to find a value, and sometimes it's just good to create that competition on an auction between two buyers, which will help determine a value. It dictates a price between two people wanting or three people wanting the item, which is quite good. That is just for quite specific items. It's good to go that route to sell items. Some items, what I'm trying to say to you there, some items determine their own value in the marketplace. Other items have a value, and that value can change very, very suddenly. It can go up or it can go down. In my history of being an antique dealer in South Africa, I've seen many things come and go, and the reality of this industry is it's very fashion driven. At one point, the hard thing to realize is that within every single thing that you have that you might be wanting to sell, there's good and bad. So it's almost like selling, most people understand a car. So if you were selling a Rolls Royce, a Bentley or a Mini, you can compare it on that level to trading. So if you've now seen an item out there and you realize there's a similar item on the internet, or you've seen an item similarly and it's selling for £30,000 or Rand, then it's for you to determine how exact is yours to that item. We had an item. Nelson Mandela memorabilia is probably one of the strongest collectible areas in South Africa. And unfortunately, yes, it has been an area that has been hard hit during certain peaks because of the fakes that are out there, and obviously that is going to create a problem in the marketplace. So what you're really needing to do in terms of if you are collecting, and there are fakes in every genre nearly if you want to collect, it's important for you to also, once you've decided to collect an item, do research on it. How do you find out if it's a fake? What are the points from? If suddenly an item is coming up that should be selling for 100,000 Rand and somebody's asking 10,000 Rand for it, there's the biggest question that you should be asking yourself, is why is it only 10,000 Rand? You know, once you've been able to resolve that in your mind and you've gone through all your checkpoints, and everything does have a checkpoint. Once you've gone through those checkpoints and you've realized it is original or it's not, then you must be able to assess whether you want to put the money in or not to that item. You should be buying from people you can trust in the industry, and that's not speaking the fear of God into people. It's just saying go out there, go to seek a few experts, find out what they have to say about it. If in doubt, if the person you're buying from is 100% on board with the item, they won't mind you bringing somebody in for an opinion on the item. always check those things out. If you said to me, Clyde, can I bring so-and-so in to look at the item, and I say to you, no, you can't, then you must know I've got a problem with the item. Well, look, it depends what you're dealing with. I mean, there's a lot of fake documentation out there. There were some rumors of fake autographs a while ago, or fake signatures on items a while ago. So you have to really know what you're doing. In terms of signatures, there's someone you can go to in Johannesburg, and that costs you about 2,500 Rand to do. And once it's been verified, you would get a letter saying, this is a genuine Nelson Mandela signature on the item, which will help you a lot in future for you wanting to sell the item. During the history of art and antiques, there's been many artists' works that have been faked. Unfortunately, we're dealing with somebody who's very near and dear to South Africans, Nelson Mandela, perhaps the most iconic person in South Africa, and in my opinion, one of the few people that's reached an acclaim where his signature and his works and what he did in his life has an international desirability. So once again, yes, there were those rumors, and some of them were founded and others weren't founded. The most important thing, once again, to bear in mind is that just as much as that there are some fakes out there, there are most definitely a huge amount of original works. So you as a collector need to establish the difference between the two. If in doubt, I'll always say to people, stand away from it, get a second opinion, and find out what you're dealing with. Has Nelson Mandela memorabilia proved to be the investment everybody thought it would be something that only time is going to tell. Lots and lots of things are unearthed after somebody's passed on, checks and all of these things are unearthed. If you do come across something like that, as I've said to you, take it to some costs involved, but those costs of verifying that are negligible in comparison to perhaps a loss. So when you look at this, the epic that we're dealing with, if it is your thing to collect Nelson Mandela memorabilia, then you have to go out there to find out as many checkpoints as you can, find out somebody reliable to buy from, and make sure that you're buying correctly. There's a point in South Africa where people gave away items from their home without really thinking of value. They just wanted to get items of furniture, tea sets, dinner sets, silver. They gave away things, and they would have given it to their staff that was working for them at the time, possibly. And these items would have possibly ended up in the townships in South Africa. And so there can be huge value there. Once again, it's hard to pinpoint one item and say to someone, if you have got this item, it could be of huge value. But the last year, the history, I don't know if you heard the story about the Irma Stern that was found in a flat in London, and it was just literally in her kitchen being used to pin notes on of what groceries needed to be purchased. So there are treasures out there. It's important for you as a seller to ascertain before you just throw the items away or give the items away. Try and find out value. You know, there's a lot of things that were made especially for the South African market. Roald Dalton made the Jan Smuts character jug, they made the Jan van Riebeeck loving cup. There's lots of things like that that are especially South African that have a good value here in South Africa and internationally now.